teach you today how to paint these peonies using palette knife and three colors plus black and white. And the reason that we're going to do that is because you're here because you want to learn how to paint loose. Even though we're using palette knife, it can sometimes restrict you, but it's also a really good way of an entry in to loose painting, even if you go back to using a brush. First piece of advice is always clean your palette knife. I don't. So I have a lot of palette knives that have gone to the palette knife grave. Second thing is my client just gave me these and said, please don't feel you need to paint them. Of course I'm going to paint them. So I'm in the studio, they're in just a random vase, any florists that have not been dealt with. So don't crucify me, please, with that. The difference when you're using palette knife and paintbrush is you need a lot of paint. As someone once said, they eat the paint. It eats the paint. So we're going to start with a little piece of charcoal. And we're going to do a gestural drawing. Stick around here long enough. You'll see it's one of the things that I will teach you straight off the bat. So what you do is you just basically set the timer. I'm going to do it for about 15 seconds. And what we're doing is we're planting what's here onto here. So it's all about, let's go. It's all about shapes. I'm using the charcoal so that you can see. If I was using a pencil, you wouldn't be able to see. The vase is kind of meh. It's too big here, but we're going to just fill in the gaps here, and I'm looking to see where there's leaves. I'm looking to see, I want to make something of this one at the front. I want to make something of here, here, and there we go. That is our gestural drawing. It's the first thing you will do to settle your brain because we overthink. That's another reason why you're here, because you've been overthinking and your paintings are overplayed, but you're drawn to paintings that are more free, I guess. Okay, so here we have white paint. We have a few different grades, and I also have Liquitex acrylic medium. I don't always use medium. A lot of paintings I've sold, there's one big one in a hotel in Northern Ireland, and I used just the paint that I used was nice and thick, depends on the grade, but you can use this Liquitex acrylic medium, which is lovely and sticky and gooey, and you just put it straight into the paint that you're mixing. I have just standard Winsor Newton Galleria for my teaching classes, and then I have also got a professional cadmium deep red. I would love a pink, but you've seen my videos before. Sometimes I use pink and I just ruin it all. So we're going to take that straight in and mix those two reds together. And we're looking just at what we want to do with this, okay? So we want it to be on the pink side. I do, but it doesn't have to be perfect because I want to see it through the artist's eyes. I'm not taking a photograph of it. That's a different channel. So I'm going to put some white into that as well. And really what we want to do is to plant the first color down. Because I don't really have pink, it's a very rich, reddy tone. I'm going to take a little bit of blue and add it to this. So then we have, just the same way as I would teach you if we were using paintbrush, we have three shades of our one shade. So this is one shade, and we're going to just plant it on. Now, you'll see I scoop it up like so. When I'm teaching students, I'm always trying to teach them like spreading butter. So you then move it around. Let those big clumps. If I had a production team, they would zoom in on the clumpy bit, but right now we don't have that. So now what I'm also going to look at is in the flowers. I'm not going for loads of detail, but I am going for depth. So we have dark underneath. At the bottom, they're not all blooming yet. It was just they started to bloom in the studio, and I thought, well, got to paint these guys for my YouTube. So here, this left-hand side is a bit lighter for me. So I'm just planting down where I see the dark. And that's where it'll start to take shape. So here, and this one has a very green, it's still got closed. And then up here. So I'm planting on one way, spreading it up one way, spreading it down the other, making a nice little oval shape. Yeah, you can see okay there. You can see okay. We're going to get to the production eventually. And I'm going to take some white into that. I've got another plate of white, so I'm going to mix a lot of white into that. And what I want you to teach you to do for your loose journeying paint, so you'll see me harp on about it in my stories. What are they called? Shorts. I want you to paint fast. You've got time for detail, but if you want to learn how to really push your creativity, you should paint fast. Okay, I'm sticking to it. Okay, in the middle, we have these little petals that come in as well. So I'm going to just plant those on, and then I'm going to take it at the sides where there's that depth of color at the top, then up at the top of the petal as well. And what we're doing is this lighter shade using the white. Make sure you get it so it's a nice color. We're now onto the pinks. So that red was the real depth. And then you're just following it round, and you can really get some beautiful smoothness in that as well. Is there such a color as smoothness, or such a word? Maybe not, but we've got it for here. Now here, I'm going to bring it in a little bit too. So the top, I'm just rounding off some of these petals, picking up some of the other bits of paint. That's okay. Good. And I'm going to need some more white. And we're just adding lots of white on. I'm going to take a little bit more of this medium. So you can get different versions of it. This one is just modeling paste, which I find is actually the best. Just go back to old school, you know, reminds you of school. Or, yeah. So I'm mixing that all in. You'll see that it starts to just hold a little better. And what the modeling paste does is it holds the shape better. Okay, it feels like this is a little bit too light for now, but I think I'm going to still plant it on because the idea is I want you to just get involved in the thickness of this. So I'm going to put on some lovely, because even though it's very similar to the last color, it's different enough that it shows more depth, and that's what we're looking for here. So I'm just loading up. I'm not changing my palette knife. That's another thing I'd love you to try and do. Use one palette knife the whole way through. And then here, and just let those, you can even use the point of your palette knife to direct it, so you can score it down in. So we start to have more definition where those petals are. Good. Cover your dark lines that I have on here as well. Sometimes when I'm doing demos and I have the charcoal, it really bothers me, but I have to lean into it. So I'm going to now mix a version of the two there, okay? Mostly leaning into this Winsor Newton Professional red. And the reason being that it's a bit more of the cherry red. So the cadmium red here, which is our one, is just more on the orange side. That's the simplest way I can put it. So this is our fourth shade of pinky red. And once we get that, it picks up all the colors that we have from the start. Another way to improve your painting is to let the colors, like you can wipe your brush, you can dab it a million times, but there's something about adding a little bit of harmony to what we see by letting other colors interrupt it or just be in the base and the mixing of it. So just mix till you get a solid color. That's all I ask you to do. And then we're going to now just keep looking at what's in front of us. And I'm going to carve out a little bit of the shape of this. So we focus on one thing, bringing that right the way down. And then up here. And then here. So again, very little difference, but enough that it adds depth and you can see all that sort of folding in. Now I'm going to move on just to here. I'm going to put this one in underneath. And then I'm going to bring it down. So there's a little accent of it there. Oh. Using paper plates, because that's what I like to do. And then here. So just filling in where the little shapes and petals are. Running a little bit out of paint, but that's okay because that'll actually push me to look a little bit more. So we get this overall feel of it. And here. And really all I'm doing now is trying to fill out these lines. And because we're using paper as well, it takes differently. It's just different. So on your page on your plate that you have the white on, you're going to mix then a little bit. I'm taking the red and the pinks from the other one. So then we get another variation. But I'm going to add a little bit of blue to it. Just a wee bit. Just so it's a little bit off color. Good. And just don't be scared by flowers. Flowers can be so overwhelming, and that's what I think a lot of us kind of can struggle with. So I get overwhelmed too, but I like the challenge of it. And I'm going to let this pink come all the way down. You're just moving it. Same with here. I'm going to let it be over this side. Lovely. Then over here we have little petal. And up at the top, I really like this little one because it's still closed. It's so pretty. So I'm just filling in the gap with that nice light shade. So it's closing in on it, which is nice. You can put a little touch of your other bits, other color up there. You can just move the paint to where you want it. So this is our lighter version. We're then going to go over here. I'm going to just basically fill in the blanks here. So here, here. And then this paint will not dry immediately. So do feel free to move it wherever you want to move it to. Okay, now let's fill in this last little bit here. So I'm going to just shape this out. Shape it out here. I'm going to go for really dark in the center if I can get some of that back on to my palette knife. There we go. Okay. Good. Now, let's clean our palette knife just like this. And then we're going to move on to our greens. So I'm going to need some more red for this green. If it opens. So I'm using the cadmium red for this one. I used the deep red hue for the petals and for the flowers. So look at the amount of paint I have there. Quite a lot of paint because I didn't want to be on here pouring paint. And then we're going to just mix those two. It should be sort of even quantities, but you're going to want a few different shades of green. Green in plants and in trees and in flowers can be extremely overwhelming, like I was just saying. I'm going to use a little bit of the modeling paste for this. Look at the inside of my modeling paste. For all of you perfectionists, that would drive you mad. I know it. I know you're shouting at the screen right now. But we're in it. We're in it. We all stick to our skills. Looking after tools is not my best skill. And my dad died when I was 7, and my mum always says he was a mechanic. And my mum says, your father left his garage immaculate. Sorry, Dad. Okay, there's our first shade of green. Just plant it on. We're just looking to see. It's very light on the stalks. It's light up around the bud, but otherwise it's pretty big mass of green. So we're going to plant it on and just think about leaves, really. I think that's a good way to do it. I'm skipping on to this palette knife, which is the pointy one. Don't know if I said that to you. And it's actually a lovely way to bring movement in and to let go of a little bit more perfectionism. So I'm just picking, look how pretty that is now already, where we start to just pick these little areas where the green is going to be. You can let the paint sit thick. Same with over here. Then we're going to bring it down. Big mass. Don't worry about if it fills it in, how it looks. It's kind of the least of my worries at the minute, as far as this is like, I'm just implying that it's there. So you can start to shape. I'm going to take this blue into it, which is really going to set the tone for the darkest shades. It's very bluey green, so I'm going to take some of that cadmium red and add it in. You could use black here too. I remember one of my other videos, someone was like, did you actually use black? I did. I did. And here we go. So we're just filling in now these darkest bits. Look, even you can see that there. And that will start to shape where the stalks are as well for us. And it will really add depth in here. But it can be quite chaotic anyway. Don't worry about it being too full of order. What it will do, it will actually shape as well the petals and the shape of the flowers. Good. And then a little bit, I see, I want to keep that nice for the lime green there, but don't worry if they interrupt the flowers as well. You can just fold that out because it will. Not everything is a perfect picture. Anyone who tells you that it is lying. But look, it's a nice one to be able to pick out your shapes with. Um, this palette knife is what I mean with that. Okay, and then I'm going to fill in a few more dark bits here. You can turn the knife on its side again to add in that little energy and to guide the paint up and through. You'll see that with people, painters. They like to use the palette knife as a tool to pull the paint under and across. Same with here. So we have light on one side, with dark on the other. Okay, and let that energy flow. I'm sort of side on, so I'm sure this is wonky, but I'm going to teach you guys how to paint. I got to show you authentically how I'm doing it, right? This is our white is going into this greeny bluey color. Still going. And we're going to mix that around. Pull it all in. If you've got too much, just start on a new plate and have white on that plate and then pull some of that greeny, bluey, murky color in. And that's going to be, as I've said, if you've just joined at this point, this is not the vase I'll be putting in my house. This is one that was in the studio. The flowers have not been cut. So we are really just working with a kind of cloudy, murky vase that's been sitting about for a while. So I'm going to fill in each side of this. The paint is falling all over the floor, but it feels like that's kind of part of it, which is nice. And then look, we just cut right into it. You cut right into it. You take your paint up to the top and then you pull it down. And that's how you kind of let go of this being too scary. Because it's water, which is going to come up. The water then comes up here. So it's another way of just adding in stalks is by using this murky color. And then if we can get some of the dark again for the bottom, you can fill in a little bit more. We're not really dealing too much with our light and shade at the minute. I just really want these charcoal lines to go away. So, you know, I'm pretty laid back about a lot of things, but some things really just drive me mad. So what I would do actually there is, right, I'm going to tell you at the end because we're in the middle of this alley. I'm now taking my cadmium yellow and I'm adding it to that same plate. But if you have it on its own, that's absolutely fine. Take a little bit of blue into it. You want to get that nice green shade, which is predominantly blue and yellow. Okay. Lime green, lime green. I like the murky green. That's why I wanted it to be like that. So green, a bit more yellow. Could be even brighter than that. It would not be nicer brighter than that, but it's okay. Let's see. Oh, here we are. There's the yellow. There we go. Mix the yellow in. And then we're going to add in our stalks. Here we go. They don't need to fill the whole way down. They don't need to all make sense. You're just filling in those nice lime greeny, murky colored petals underneath, the ones that envelope the lovely buds. Here we are. Good, and let the paint, it gets sparse, that's okay. This is your final kind of stages, so you can bring some of it in here as well. Here, I'm just filling in that so it's the detail. Stand back, look at what you've got. See how you feel with it. To me, it feels good. The down the bottom is a mess, but that's because I went mad on the lines. Now get yourself a nice clean plate with a good dose of white or whichever color you want to do it. Cleaning my palette knife. And then you're going to weigh up where you want this to be. So I want to fill that out so that it doesn't look as ridiculous. Good. And then I can fill in these white bits in and around. So there's a wee bit of harmony. What I would do if I was on a canvas is take white and put it the whole way around. So it's another way to get rid of like there. It's another way to make the painting pop is by adding that background color. But there we go. And I'm just going to add last little bit of white. This is your quick introduction to the flowers. I'm going to add white here, or this is the side of the vase. We're going to say where the water is hitting, where the light is hitting. Same with here. If we had all day, we would do a little bit more of an angle in the vase. But instead, we want this to be a nice, true impression. So I'm letting the white hit in just where the light is. Remember, nice layers with your peonies. Here we go. And then you can use the side of the knife to fill the paint around. So you've got these nice peonies. Well done. Peonies using palette knife. Let me know any questions. Follow for more. We could spend all day. We could pick this apart. We could say it's not exactly like it, but you're here because I want to teach you how to paint loose, how to put your energy, your authenticity into your painting. And the way that we do that is we crush it into a shorter time. That's why my workshops of 20 years work, because people come. That's why my business grew by 300% during COVID, because people come to me. I teach you A, B, C, and you make a product in this short space of time, which helps you push your creativity to the forefront, because you're not trying to be anyone else. You're not trying to paint like anyone else. You're not trying to paint like a picture. You are an unintentional artist. You're here and I get to lead you. And these are the beautiful pictures that we get to paint. I'm going to show you closer. Trust yourself. Trust me. Enjoy it. Give it a go. Thanks for watching.